If the Cincinnati Bengals want to get off to a better start in 2025, then Joe Burrow must play in the preseason, and it sounds like that's their plan. We'll discuss on today's edition of Locked On NFL.
The new Locked On NFL. The madman Tyler Rowland is your double shot of NFL espresso with the Locked On local experts on every major story. Get ready, Rowland is revving up. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Football fans, welcome into the Locked On NFL podcast, bringing you a double dose of the NFL's biggest stories with help from our local experts that know your favorite teams like no one else. I am your host, the madman, Tyler Rowland, joined today by Locked On NFL expert, the brain, Luke Braun. On today's episode, we're going to take a look at some teams that need to have a quick start and need to put their best players out there for the preseason. We're going to talk about our teams, the Vikings and the Titans, who both have quarterbacks who need to get out on the field. We're going to talk about the Bears and the Jets, who both need to have a quick start, but we're going to start with Joe Burrow, who looks like he is going to play in the preseason, and we'll talk about the Rams gave a new deal to Kyren Williams, and their quarterback probably isn't going to play in the preseason. Before we dive into all of it, though, I do want to thank you for making Locked On NFL your first listen each and every day, and for being an everydayer here with us at the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So, Luke, the news of the day, Kyren Williams gets the 3-year, $33 million extension with the Los Angeles Rams. We both said before, is a pretty good running back, getting mid-tier running back money. I like the deal, but I'm more concerned about the Matthew Stafford update, because it doesn't look like with his back injury, he is going to be playing in the preseason. Do you think that they could ride Williams enough to let Stafford get healthy?
Well, in the preseason, I wouldn't expect Matthew Stafford to play at all anyways. It probably wouldn't want to. It's not like he needs reps. But,
right.
Yeah, if they are down to... Who even is their backup right now?
Jimmy Garoppolo, baby.
Jimmy G. Oh, no, Jimmy G can give you a spicy one. Oh, no, it's fine.
That's what I say. I agree with you. I was talking about this last week on one of my shows about the Rams. And
you can pull the levers.
Nick Cattles. I was like, honestly, I'm not worried about Matthew Stafford's back injury, even if he misses the first month of the season. I believe in the Rams. I believe that Matthew Stafford doesn't need the time to warm up. He'll be fine. And Jimmy G, I mean, with Sean McVay, they've done it before. So I'm not too worried about it. I think they could ride Williams to a couple of wins. They play the Titans week 2. That's a win for the Rams. So you know they're getting at least one in the first month. But I'm just not overly worried. And this is a smart move by the Rams to give Williams what he's owed.
Yeah, it seems like it's a market deal. $11 million a year for a running back that's, not Saquon, but he's good. He'll do the thing.
Yep.
I like Kyren Williams. Works fine to me. A month is a lot. I think Jimmy can keep you in a game or two, but also we know Matthew Stafford to be the kind of guy that's going to come back 2 weeks earlier than he should. So he'll be fine. Rams, you're fine.
True.
Don't worry about it.
Well, then let him sit out the first 2 weeks. You can go 1-1, have Stafford come back week 3. You're good to go. I'm just not worried about the Rams, I guess. I'm just not. Now, I will say, talking about the money for Williams, $11 million a year. See, I would pay James Cook more in line with Williams than I would pay him in line with Saquon Barkley, which is the conversation that we've been hearing over the last couple of days. James Cook thinks he should be up in that market. Would you pay James Cook closer to Saquon, or would you pay him closer to Kyren Williams?
Definitely splitting the difference between the two. I think Saquon's contract needs to be special, right? Because Saquon is special, and he sort of is a cut away from everybody else.
Him and Derrick Henry are in a different line.
Economics is like that in the NFL. Like, it just, somebody signs a contract, the next guy has to sign a bigger contract, and it kind of doesn't matter if he's better or not. So I wouldn't be shocked to see this happen, and that's just kind of how things like ebb and flow. Yeah. But the Bills have to get it done. So if it's pay me Saquon money or I'm out of here, if I'm the Bills, I think I just kind of have to eat that and say, all right, we're overpaying you a little bit, but it's better than losing you.
I'm just not as high on James Cook as you are. I'll ride with Ray Davis and we'll be good to go. I'll let James Cook hold out all year. We don't need him. He's a running back, whatever. It's not
Test free agency or whatever. Yeah, I guess it depends on how they feel about like what the other options would be, because I don't think it would be Ray Davis. I think you're going to start trading for somebody or figuring something out.
Internally, they would have their own thoughts, but just me on the outside,
which also costs some level of resources.
Yeah.
So like,
they have Ty Johnson and Ray Davis. I'm riding with Ty Johnson and Ray Davis before I give James Cook Saquon money. But talking about contracts, it won't be long before we have to get to our next team, the Cincinnati Bengals. And look, we're hearing some things about Joe Burrow playing early in the preseason, and he's been playing in training camp, and it's been looking pretty good.
And the offense largely pushed through the defense on Sunday days. They, like I said, move the ball, Joe. So they're actually simulating drives of offense starting down around the 25 or 30-yard line and marching their way down the field. And largely a really, really good day for the first team offense. Really strong performance from the offense in team drills. From my perspective, I don't think they got stopped, period. I think.
Now, listen, the defense is usually ahead of the offense at this time in training camp for most teams. Not the case with the Bengals, and it shouldn't be the case. But yes, that Joe Burrow is going to be playing a lot more. Zac Taylor said several series in each preseason game. The Bengals have had slow starts the last few years, really slow starts, and then they've been trying to dig themselves out of a hole. I believe this 100% is Zac Taylor saying, you guys can't use that against me anymore. I'm going to play Joe. I'm going to play the starters quite a bit early in games, and if we get off to a slow start, you can't blame me for not playing the guys in the preseason. I've been calling for this for the Bengals for 2 years now. I think that they should be taking the preseason more serious. It sounds like they are, and I think the Bengals are a team that needs to start quick to erase the bad memories of the slow starts they've had in recent years.
They have, and there's a key detail here that's really important, which is that the Bengals don't have joint practices this year, and a bit of a wonky preseason schedule where they have almost 2 full weeks between a couple of games. So Zac Taylor's plan, it's a different plan to get ready. I think it's more than just do you or don't you play the starters in the preseason, because the preseason isn't the only like ramp up period that you get. These joint practices in the NFL are NFL speed. They're just safer. The only difference is you're not tackling to the ground, but you're still playing with NFL speed. You're still hitting each other in the trenches just as well. You're still playing just as physical of coverage, and you don't really care about injuring the guy across from you anymore. So you're not being super, super careful. You're just not hitting the quarterback. You're not taking to the ground. So these joint practices have been like a really popular way for teams to try to ramp up and get ready. Bengals did not do that this year. Maybe because, man, we've started slow every single time. Maybe let's try the preseason instead of the joint practices. But between 2 of their games, Zac Taylor has already said, we're going to have some really, really physical, full padded practices and really try to get ourselves ready without having to adhere to someone else's schedule, go to someone else's house, add that whole complexity to the whole thing. It changes a lot of the like operational details of training camp and hopefully gets them ready a little bit more. And I think there is maybe something for the coaches more than the players. There's something to the preseason being a warm-up period for just getting your operation down, getting a play call in, getting it to the huddle, getting it to Joe Burrow, and giving him enough time to do what he needs to do at the line, and just that kind of mental part of it. But the preseason snaps themselves are often against people's backups. You play one series. Like, I think playing starters in the preseason has always been a bit of an overrated thing. The 9 reps you get in a preseason game don't do nearly as much to me as 60 in a joint practice. It's just that the joint practice isn't on TV, so we don't see it. So we think that they didn't do anything all camp.
Luke, how about both? I agree with you.
Sure.
Absolutely. With your take about joint practices, I disagree about playing in the preseason and maybe just a team that doesn't, the Mike Vrabel establishment, Tennessee never wanted to play any starters, and then they didn't feel like they were ever ready to go early in the season. So I would push back against the preseason stuff, but I would say this. You're right about the joint practices, and you're going to get much more 1v1 action in the joint practice than you're going to get. Instead of saying joint practices, which I think messes with fans' minds, we should just call it a scrimmage. If you call it a scrimmage,
for real.
I feel like most people would be like, oh, okay, they're having a scrimmage. You know what I mean? But you call it a joint practice, and it's like, they're out there holding hands doing stretches together. No, it's not quite like that. But I agree with you. Joint practices, if you're not someone who is fully tapped into the NFL, that is really where these teams are looking to get some extra work.
They get nasty. There are fights all the time in those and all that. There's a lot more happens in those. And like the 11 reps you get in the preseason, I don't know, do them, don't. I feel like it's an overrated thing.
I think because it's a dress rehearsal for an actual game, that it's more of a mental preparation thing, like you talked about, than the physical 9 reps. But I understand what's the risk of the 9 reps and what could happen there versus the mental advantage you're creating. Those conversations have been had and will be continuing nonstop throughout, football locker rooms and coaching meetings and everything forever and all eternity. We're not solving it today. But with that being said, some other teams that need to get off to a very quick start when the season rolls around and in turn probably need to play some in the preseason are Justin Fields' new team and one of Justin Fields' old teams. Today's episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. Look, it's the best time of the year, folks. NFL kickoff is almost here, and that means fantasy football season is back in full swing. And this year, Yahoo Fantasy is turning things up with a fantasy football experience like never before. This year, me, maybe Luke, are playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league. Look, Yahoo's been doing this for a long time. They have so many different ways to play. They've really ironed out the best way to do things for fantasy and to celebrate their 28 years of fantasy football greatness. Yahoo is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout August. To kick it off, they dropped Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, a killer new way to play fantasy football on Yahoo, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated each week until there's one team left standing. With the season right around the corner, now's the time to get your league together and give this new mode a try. If you're more into the classics, you can still play head-to-head private leagues or join a public league. Stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. All right, Luke, let's continue today's edition of Locked On NFL. We're looking at teams that need to get off to a fast start and probably need to play a little in the preseason. Luke, I know that you had your eye on the Bears, and we'll get there, but I want to start with the New York Jets. And overall, I've liked what the New York Jets have done this offseason with the extensions and all of that, and I'm not the only one, and our guys over at Locked On Jets think the Jets have made a nice move with those as well.
Yeah, I mean, we arrive at training camp with all these players extended. It's just done and over with. There's no drama. It's really promising. But yeah, I think extensions are some of the best money that you could spend as an NFL team because as opposed to signing, say, a player of the same talent level for the same money from another team, when you extend a player that has already performed well on your team, it's just a lot more reliable to expect him to continue performing because you've seen it in this environment.
Smart move by the Jets. I agree. Locking down their guys that they know, young talent. I think the Jets have a pretty solid roster, but the question is Justin Fields. And as a guy who's watched a lot of Justin Fields and has Justin Field takes, when you hear that Fields is really struggling over the last week of Jets practice, don't pay too much attention to training camp stats, but they don't look very good. 2 for 8 and 8 for 18 and 6 for 4 and just struggling. Is that something that surprises you? Do you think that the Jets should ride this through? Or maybe should the Jets be thinking, maybe we should start canvassing the league for maybe someone to help us out?
No, I think they're in the Justin Fields thing this year. I honestly kind of think the Jets are having a please don't look at me season. And it's like, what, just like try a guy, let him have the year, let him figure it out. But I think part of this is that the Jets have a couple of really important unanswered questions on their depth chart. They don't quite have a certainty on who is playing center. That's a big deal for the quarterback. Joe Tippmann has the job. He's their second-round pick from a couple of years ago, but they signed Josh Myers, and Josh Myers is a longtime starting center in this league for the Packers. He's pushing them. They don't really know who wide receiver 2 is either. Could be Alan Lazard, could be Josh Reynolds, could be Malachi Corley.
Yuck. I don't care who it is. That's bad. I don't care who it is. That's terrible.
I agree, right? And I think to get Justin Fields to settle down and get this to work, you need clarity on who is going to be around him, who's snapping to him, who he is throwing to. Whether you like the answer or not, we need one. And that can be, I think, what the preseason can give you is to clarify those competitions. It's for everybody, especially the teams that don't play their starters, get these really clear ideas of how they're going to structure the bottom parts of their roster. I think the Jets really need that. They have a lot of uncertainty, and in these positions that are very important to Justin Fields, it kind of reminds me of like if you have a kicker or a competition at like long snapper or holder, the kicker is going to have a bad camp because the timing is going to be different every time. It's a much higher stakes version of that.
No, I'm with you there. That's a great point. And you wonder, it just makes my brain wonder when you're saying that. We've heard, maybe you haven't, I hear just whispers in the wind sometime. That's all, Lou. Just whispers in the wind. And I wonder how real they are.
The moon talk to you. Yeah, it happens.
The Jets may be interested in Terry McLaurin. And if you're the Jets...
Oh my God, they need that.
Would you... Now, you have Justin Fields at quarterback. And look, I'm not high on Fields as a long-term option. But if you're the Jets and you're like, hey, why not? Would you make that move for the Jets to get Terry McLaurin if you could?
I'd be moving some mountains, I think. I think the only thing that would stop me if I'm the Jets is just I don't want to jeopardize my actual plan to get the long-term guy. I don't think Fields is that either for them. And you can't, you got to be able to get that long-term guy. Otherwise, you're going to waste this great Terry McLaurin acquisition by having Justin Fields throw to him for 3 years. You don't want to do that. So as long as I can do it without jeopardizing my keep, but pretty much anything else is on the table. Garrett Wilson and Terry McLaurin as a duo. Now suddenly Justin Fields being my quarterback, I can kind of overcome it because I have this sick duo that can make everything else really forgive it.
And you know what? If you're going to have a quarterback in Justin Fields on a journeyman contract, 1 year thing, and you know that the reality is the quarterback that you'll probably replace Justin Fields with, if you replace him, is either going to be a veteran who's a bridge veteran who isn't going to be $55 million a year, or you're probably getting a rookie out of the draft, which is going to be another cheap quarterback. So no matter who is going to be your quarterback after Justin Fields, if it's not Justin Fields, it probably isn't going to be a big financial problem if you do get Terry McLaurin. But I just have a problem with trading anything for a 30-year-old wide receiver when you don't know. Like, if you had a rookie quarterback right now, then I would say, okay, like that makes sense. But since don't
what if they have one next year? Then won't we be saying like, wow, what a great spot for this rookie quarterback with these two receivers and this number 7 overall right tackle that's starting? Like, wouldn't we be saying what a great, like, don't you kind of want to have that in place so you don't do what happened to Justin Fields? Like the guy's right here. He can tell you, hey man, if you get a rookie, you might want to have some guys around him.
Look, you're not wrong, but I think it's definitely risk either way. But that, paying Terry McLaurin the same contract you paid Garrett Wilson when he's 30 years old and you don't know what your quarterback situation. I'm just saying the unknown of that is a little bit risky. But speaking of an unknown, we don't know what we're going to get from the Chicago Bears this year. But my guy Lauren Cox from Locked On Bears thinks that the group around Caleb Williams could be even better than what we thought it was last year.
But I can't help but look at like what we thought was great last year compared to what they have now and feel like the supporting cast for Caleb Williams currently is better than what was supposed to be the best supporting cast a rookie quarterback has ever had. And part of that was that most of the time, rookie quarterbacks don't come in with great supporting cast. But I can't help but wonder, like, does Caleb Williams now have the greatest supporting cast of any second-year player in NFL history?
Well, we can wonder all we want.
Let it die.
Silly mode. Yeah, just let it all die. I guess my point overall here is I agree with you. I think the Bears are a team that they have bad vibes in the past. Caleb Williams just has weird body language all the time. They need to get off to a hot start. I think Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams might kill each other.
I think the Bears just kind of need reps. They just need to iron out their kinks and just kind of keep going. And trudge through this. They're having the friction of a new head coach who's trying to change the culture. I think that's kind of what the doctor ordered for the Bears. But
yes,
Lauren, it's not the best supporting cast in the division for a second-year quarterback. What are you doing?
Well, I don't know. It depends on what
happens. Justin Jefferson on the Chicago Bears. Okay, come on now.
Dunze hate club leader Luke. No, all jokes aside. I get what you're saying.
Like, congratulate the Bears fans always get really excited about like the 25th best player in the league. It's crazy.
You got to have something, Lauren. All right. Listen, not all of us can have great players just lining it up all the time. So you gotta lock on to something. Look, I think
Jackson
the
Jones or
Bears are going to
Christian
be good this
Darrisaw.
year.
It's a toss up. Experts are debating hotly.
All
Like,
I know
come
is
on.
the Bears do need a hot start, though, to help deal with all that, because there's probably a lot of friction there, and we know what cures all. It's winning. So if they get a couple of wins, everybody will buy into the vision a little bit more. It'll be a little easier to walk around. But if they get off to a slow start, I think it's going to mess with them. So I would treat Caleb Williams like a rookie. It's a new system, new coach. They need to go out there and play. But speaking
Vikings Bears week 1 Monday night. If they get dunked on by JJ McCarthy, that will start raising some interesting questions.
Speaking of a quarterback that I think does need to play quite a bit in the preseason, JJ McCarthy is on my list. Do want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Look, summer sports are in full swing, folks, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights or golf on the green or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. Look, you're already following the action. Why not make it just a little bit more thrilling with FanDuel? You can get in on the game while your friends are busy getting sunburnt at the beach. I love FanDuel. Their same-game parlays and tracking the same-game parlays. It looks so great. It's by far my favorite, but they have new daily promotions as well that keep it fresh and give you fun new ways to bet. You're watching these games already. Why not make them feel like a must-watch event? New to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, Luke, let's cap off today's edition of Locked On NFL, talking about teams that need to get off to a hot start this year and in turn probably need to play some in the preseason. We've gone over the Bengals. We've talked about the Bears and Jets. Now it's time for a little home cooking. Step into the kitchen here for me and Luke to do a little bit of home cooking.
I already did a little bit of that, but all right.
Yeah, but with that being said, I think that the Minnesota Vikings are a team that absolutely needs to play some of their starters early. Now, Justin Jefferson dealing with the hamstring. Maybe you can give us an update there on what the vibes are with that. Jordan Addison, potential suspension right around the corner. That's something to consider. J.J. McCarthy, basically a rookie quarterback after missing most of last season. Mentally, maybe not, but on the field, he's experiencing things like a rookie would. Well, I guess he had training camp last year before he got hurt. Yeah. So there's some.
He's like half a rookie. It's not like all the way, but yeah.
But either way, I think that the Vikings are a team, personally, for me, Luke, that because Sam Darnold was so good for them last year and the season went so well, that people could be disappointed in Minnesota quickly if they don't get off to a good start and they look like they're significantly lesser on offense with early. Even if McCarthy deserves time to grow, people could panic early because it's like we were so good last year and we don't look good early. Did they make a mistake? Should they have kept Sam Darnold? I can read the headlines that I'm going to be saying in the season in the first month already. So to me, the only way to avoid that is for McCarthy to get off to a good start, at least, and for them to win some games early. That week 1 matchup would go a long way if you take down the hype machine of the Bears with McCarthy. But I think the best way to accomplish that, and I don't know more than Kevin O'Connell, who am I pretending to be here, but I think that involves J.J. McCarthy getting some live reps in-game, if not for the physical reasons, just to mentally get in that, I'm out on the field, I'm in the huddle, I'm the first guy, I'm leading
the cadence, the rhythm.
I'm the leader now, this is how it sounds. All of that stuff, McCarthy needs to play more than you would typically play your starter early, in my opinion.
I have great news for you. He is going to play in the preseason. Kevin O'Connell's already announced it. That is a bit of a break. Kevin O'Connell is very much don't play your starters in the preseason. Exactly. Joint practices are for that. Preseason is for like determining position battles in the depth. Yep. But he will often break that rule for rookies. I would anticipate a lot. Like I think Donovan Jackson, their first round guard, who has the job right now without he's not trading reps with anybody. I still kind of anticipate that he's going to play at least a little bit just to get his feet wet and like other young players. But you're not going to see, TJ Hawkinson, who now he's dealing with a hip, so you definitely won't see him. But you weren't going to see Ryan Kelly. You weren't going to see Brian O'Neill out there, any of those older veteran players that don't need the reps, which is a lot of the Vikings starting core is older right now. They have one of the oldest defenses in the league. I think most of those guys aren't going to be out there. As for Justin Jefferson, he has a hamstring strain. It's minor. We have been assured that there is a 0% chance that he misses week 1. But they're just being super cautious with him. He is another guy. What are we doing for a training camp practice, right? Like whatever, like let him walk around with a bucket hat and see if Kevin O'Connell can juggle a thing that is happening. But yeah, JJ McCarthy will get out there. Here's a hot take. Okay. I think JJ McCarthy needs to get hit a couple times. I think you just got to get that. That needs to happen in a game that doesn't count, right?
Yes,
just get your psyche used to it. Throw a dumb pick or something like that. Like that. I think having a little bit of that in the game that doesn't count. How much he will play, I do not know. I would guess a quarter. But last year, Sam Darnold played one drive of the preseason, and that was it. One drive, scored a touchdown, and they put him on ice. So honestly, JJ McCarthy, one drive, if it's a good drive, they score a touchdown, you could go, all right, cool. We've seen enough. See you week 1. And then go figure out your backup QB situation, which is a bit catastrophic right now in Minnesota.
Well, the backup quarterback situation aside, because that's obviously if they did it that way, I would be on the show to say I think that's a mistake, and then we will see how McCarthy played at the beginning of the year to determine whether I was right or wrong.
Prove that you've got the rhythm down, right? If you see a bunch of mistakes, if you see him, get like a false start because he didn't get the snap cadence right or something like that, or you see a delay of game penalty because he was too slow in the huddle, then you go, okay, you got to get out there. We got to iron that out. Yep. But I think it might just be, hey, we want to just see you in the huddle a little bit, proof of concept, and then we can move it. Or it could be like a quarter, but it's the preseason. If the starters play, they're not playing more than a quarter anyways, really anywhere.
No.
So you're talking about one drive or maybe a second one.
See, that's and I'm going with 2. I want to see 2 drives in each game from JJ McCarthy. If I'm honest, I think that
you
would
probably
be
won't
fair.
see that. You'll probably see one
probably not.
week 1 and then the joint practices.
But I got to set it up here, Luke, because if the Vikings come out and start slow, then I'm going to hammer Kevin O'Connell for not playing J.J. McCarthy more in the preseason. That's how these things work. And I will do the same for my own team, the Tennessee Titans, who everything we just said about why I think the preseason and why you think the preseason could be important for J.J. McCarthy and all the things that can matter, all of that translates to Cam Ward. And not only that, but the Titans' offense has been putrid through the first 2 weeks of training camp. Now, of course, the defenses are always ahead of the offenses. But some of those offenses, like Daniel Jeremiah had a tweet this week, defenses are usually ahead of offenses this time of year. And every single fan of every single team that's had a struggling offense in camp so far retweets that and says, all right, guys, see, we're going to be fine. Daniel Jeremiah is smart. Daniel Jeremiah is smart, and he knows a lot about football. But some of your teams right
now...
Probably
not a cure-all, yeah. Some of your offenses need work.
Whose offenses suck, guess what? Your offense is going to suck during the season, too.
Some of these offenses are going to be bad, yeah.
Not everyone gets better. You know what I mean? So the Titans are a team who I don't know if they're going to get better, and they need all of the real reps that they can get with a rookie quarterback and a ton of young players across the board. So J.J. McCarthy may be in a much better scenario, and that could change things for him. But I will say for Cam Ward the same, and I will crush Brian Callahan the same as well if he doesn't do it. Cam Ward needs to play early. He needs to play a couple series in each game. He is a rookie with a bad offense. They need to play together and be ready, or they're going to go into Denver, where it's historically tough to win in week 1, and then follow that up with a game against the Los Angeles Rams, and they're going to end up 0-2, and things are going to be falling apart already. So Cam Ward needs to play early as well.
For sure. Yeah. I think most of the time teams will put their rookies in. And even if they have, the starting job outright, like Cam Ward does, they will, put those rookies in just to give them a low stakes moment to actually work a huddle with in a real stadium with a real game clock, a real play clock, real referees and everything. And you're not, simulating the whole thing. And I think beyond that, then you're just starting to kind of rep the same plays you're doing in practice, just with a little bit more live bullets flying. But I do think I'm going to say the same thing about Cam Ward. I think it's good to get an NFL hit from a guy who doesn't care about your well-being in a game that doesn't count, so that you can stand up, shake that off, and in 25 seconds be ready to do the next play. And don't be doing that for the first time. Like, that's a hard thing to do. And don't do that for the first time in a game that counts.
We've heard from enough quarterbacks that they like taking that first hit. Like I saw Kirk Cousins on quarterback.
Like they want to get that first hit out of the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got to feel it. You want to break the ice. You want to just, all right, we're in. You know what I mean? We're in here. You know what I mean? Everybody knows, at least I'll say any adult listening. If you're a kid, Maybe you haven't quite experienced this yet. Maybe you have going to football practice or a new school or something like that. But the moment that the veil kind of drops and now you're just here, it's just normal. That's where these rookies need to get to. And it's tough with the limited amount of practice time the NFL teams have in the modern NFL. But with that being said, preseason games coming up on tomorrow's show. Me and Michelle, we're going to be previewing some of the Thursday games. Show on Friday with the Mastermind Ross, previewing more football games. Football is back, ladies and gentlemen, and we're back here, although we never left at Locked On NFL. But that's going to do it for us today. I am your host, the Madman Tyler Rowland, for my co-host, the Brain, Luke Braun, as we tell you every episode. Thanks for tuning in, and stay safe out there.